Okay, so a pleasant day to all of you. Thank you for viewing this review video on social sciences. So this is the fourth mock session. I am Michaela Arsaman. I will be your lecturer for today. And so for this specific review, typically in the NMAT, social sciences is always there. But the problem, sometimes the concept there hindi siya ganun kadali intindihin, no? Para kasi may mga instances na siya yung naiiba ng slide kasi we've been used to a lot of technical and hardcore science stuff, no, from anatomy, physiology, biology even, and such as that. And then nandito yung social science. So parang siya yung medyo may pagka-soft science compared to them. But honestly, we can really take away social science from the experience of the human. And yun yung importance bakit nandun siya sa NMAT. Because at the end of the day, we're going to deal with people, not just bodies. And ito yung rason bakit kailangan may familiarity tayo how we talk to people, how we understand the thought processes which people have, and how we try to provide recommendations that will eventually help these people na magawa yung kanilang mga kinakailangan gawin. And so, we shall begin with our NMAT review for social science. And for this one, I'd really try na mababad tayo dun sa concepts na parang hindi siya something na automatic ay nakakaba or anything like that. Okay? So, yeah, let's head on to the first question agad-agad. So, sabi dyan, a student studies in the same quiet room every evening. During the examination, she recalls the material more easily when the testing room is also quiet. So, which principle best explains this? So, A, state-dependent memory, B, context-dependent memory, C, proactive interference, D, functional fixedness, and ayan, yung ating mga choices, no? So dito pa lang sa pagkaka-frame ng question natin, makikita agad natin na about siya sa studying, which is also something that you are doing. And for this particular student, what works for this student ay quiet room every evening. Tapos dahil quiet rin yung testing room, yun yung rason bakit nakaka-recall siya ng mas madali. So it has to do with that, no, with the quietness, with the silence, no, yun yung ating hahanapin. Now for the choices, it will be difficult if hindi kayo familiar dun sa mga concepts. But it's okay. That's why we're here. That's why we need to learn the concepts. Diba? Kaya tayo nandito ngayon. And sabi dyan, sige, let's try to parang define itong mga concepts na ito based sa mga words mismo. Let's just look for contextual definitions that could help us dito sa mga kailangan nating sagutan. So A, state-dependent memory. So from the word in itself, no, na state-dependent memory, parang may isip agad natin na it might have something to do with the state of a person or with the state, pwede rin of the surroundings, di ba? Kasi dependent daw yung memory mo dun sa state. So hindi lang tayo sure kung is it referring to the state of the individual or the state of the surrounding. So definitely if yung form or yung if yung latter siya, no, na state of the surroundings, this will count kasi sabi nga natin yung quietness ng paligid yung hinahanap natin. So we could keep that, no? And then B, context-dependent memory. So for this one, sinasabi na yung context yung nagmamatter. So definitely when we speak of context, it could be a lot of things and it could be also the exact context or the exact situation, the exact environment na nandun yung isang tao. So we could also save letter B muna. So C, proactive interference, no? So ito yung unang choice na kailangan natin i-rationalize na hindi about memory. And when we speak of proactive interference, dun pa lang sa name, may interference na agad. But we could see na wala namang naging interference, di ba? Dun sa experience ng student. In fact, naka-perform nga siya ng ayos. So maybe, even though we don't know the meaning, ito yung isa sa mga una natin pwedeng i-slash or i-remove agad automatically from our choices. And then D, functional fixedness. So may fixed daw. So yeah, we could still consider kasi fixed. So medyo pag sinabing fixed, parehas, no? Ano siya, tas functional, ibig sabihin nakaka-function. So we have three possible choices na lang from the four, which is a good thing kasi we're able to reduce our possible choices. And dun sa tatlong yun, we're going to think ano ba yung pinaka-possible na answer or if not, logical answer to this question. And as you can see, sinasabi nga na yung emphasis is on the quiet room. Definitely kanina when we were discussing about state-dependent memory, we've been thinking na Yung state could be a lot of things. So, pwedeng yun yung isa natin sa mga tanggalan, no? And then for B and D, the remaining choices, we have to remember that our goal here is recall. And when we speak of recall, definitely it's related to memory. So the correct answer is letter B, context-dependent memory. Okay? So that is the correct answer for this first question. And if you'd like to read through yung mga specific definitions ng mga terminologies, no, just to check kung tama ba yung rationalization natin with them, ayan, nandito naman siya sa baba. Although, as you can see, ayan. So, we can confirm na yung state-dependent memory is yun yung talagang inter-physiological na state ng tao, hindi ng environment. Thus, proactive interference, ayun nga, interference, hindi siya nakakatulong for the recall. And then being functional fixedness, ayan, so about siya sa objects. So definitely not the answer that we are looking for. Okay, let's head on to the second question. So after repeatedly hearing a harmless notification sound, a person gradually stops paying attention to it. So this is an example of sensitization, habituation, generalization, or spontaneous recovery. So, di ba, parang actually we could use this in a different context na gumagana pa ba yung alarm clock nyo, no? Nagigising pa ba kayo sa tunog ng alarm clock nyo in the morning? So, I think this is also the same kind of premise that this question is trying to ask us. And again, yung familiarity natin with the terminologies provided in the choices ay mahalaga. But if we are not familiar, we could always go for the contextual clues, no? So hindi siya lagi, no, na advisable gawin, but in the NMAT you could encounter questions na you've never, or terms even that you've never seen or read before, and sometimes it's gonna be a huge deal of help talaga na familiar tayo with the contextual clues. So, sige, let's try. Sensitization. When we say sensitization, pwedeng it's something about sensitivity, no? Senses related to our senses. So, definitely, hearing. Nandun yung hearing, no? So, sige, pwede pa rin siya, medyo related pa rin siya. Habituation, yung habits, no? So, it could also be related to it. Kasi sabi nga gradually stops paying attention to it. So, baka before, dati, nagigising pa siya, ngayon hindi na. So, maybe it's also habit, no? Maybe a way of life. So, we can keep habituation there. And then see generalization, no? Pag sinabi natin generalization, sometimes we try to generalize things, no? Kunwari yung isang meaning natin sa isang bagay, yun na yung mag-a-apply for all. Para siyang one-size-fits-all na approach. And we can see na kung ganun yung definition natin sa kanya, definitely it's not the answer. Kasi sabi nga kanina, yung sound is dati may epekto ngayon, wala na. So, hindi nag-generalize yung effect dati, no? So, we could eliminate that. And then, the spontaneous recovery. So, pag sinabi natin spontaneous, biglaan, di ba? Recovery is, yeah, definitely magre-recover. Or, if it, kumbaga kung galing ka sa state na wala, magbabounce back ka. Ganun yung spontaneous recovery. But, it seems na that is not what the question asks for. So, we could stick with sensitization and habituation. So, alin sa dalawa, yung mas related doon sa topic nating tinatanong. And remember, it's about hearing a sound, and then eventually yung sound na naririnig nyo is wala ng epekto sa iyo, no? Or wala na siyang impact sa iyo or in your daily living, no? So, sensitization, in a way, yung senses natin ay connected. Habituation is naging habit natin siya. So, if we will use the contextual words, ang tamang sagot ay actually letter B, habituation. So, ibig sabihin, sa sobrang sanay mo dun sa sound, nagiging habit na siya to the point na hindi ka na naninibago doon sa notification sound na yun. And you may also try to argue na, di dapat kung habit na siya nung tao na iyon is, dapat automatically, every time na maririnig niya is magigising siya. No, every time na nandun ay dapat matutuloy niya. Yung definition na yun na sinasabi nyo would be the sensitization. No? So again, yun yung tawag. Then bakit? Kasi you are reacting to the sound because you're already sensitized doon. No? So ibig sabihin, naging sensitive na yung hearing mo to the point na every time na marinig mo tumutunog yun, titingin ka agad. Or kung alarm clock man yan, magigising ka agad. Habituation, on the other hand, is nagiging habit mo na siya. Kumbaga, nakakasanayan mo to the point na nagiging part na siya nung normal, quote-unquote, normal pattern mo, and it does not incur any response from you anymore. So, yun yung clear differences ng dalawa. Again, habituation, nakakasanayan. Sensitization, it's also related to that experience of nakakasanayan, but you are reacting to it. No? So, there's still reaction dun sa kung ano yung meron ka. Okay? So, yeah, number 3. Punta tayo sa number 3. A child cleans her room because her parents stop reminding her once the task is completed. So, the parents' removal of reminders increases the child's cleaning behavior. So, this illustrates, so sabi, positive reinforcement ba yun? Negative reinforcement? C, positive punishment, or D, negative punishment. So, medyo confusing, no? But what we could get here is may concepts tayo ng reinforcement and then ng punishment, no? So, yun yung nakikita natin na connect doon sa ating mga choices and doon sa ating mga questions. So, for this particular one, we could automatically think na ano ba yung ibig sabihin ng reinforce? So, when we say reinforcement, parang ini-encourage mo, di ba? Parang tinatry mo na i-build up siya. Punishment kasi is from the word in itself, pinaparusahan mo, pinapunish mo, no? Ang tanong natin is, sinasabi na ni-remove yung reminders, no? Inalis ng parents yung reminders and yun yung nag-increase sa paglilinis ng bata. Kasi siguro ayaw ng bata na napagsasabihan siya. Ayaw ng bata na lagi siya, oh, maglinis ka ng kwarto mo, na ba yan ang tamad mo, di ba? So ayaw naman siguro ng bata na nabubungangaan siya. So therefore, we can say na what happened is a reinforcement of some sort. Kasi ibig sabihin, encourage yung bata to actually do the reminders by actually avoiding na marinig pa ulit yung reminders na yun. But either way, na-encourage yung behavior na gusto mo mangyari. Remember, kapag punishment, gusto mo, pinaparusahan mo siya kasi nga ginawa mo. So, ang goal mo is wag niyang gawin yun. No? So, dito, since na-encourage natin yung behavior na yun, reinforcement siya. That automatically leads us to the positive and negative. No? So, dito sa positive and negative, if hindi tayo familiar dun sa intricate difference ng dalawa, we could rely on context clues again. So, when we say positive, di ba, we're automatically going to think of the positive sign, the add sign. So, something is added, and the negative sign is something is subtracted, reduced, or removed, no? And so, in this particular question, it's gonna be letter D, negative reinforcement, kasi ni-remove yung reminders, and dahil hindi na binubungangaan, no, nung parents yung bata, na encourage na siya eventually to do the cleaning behaviors, no? So these are the specific differences, and I know this could be a wordful, no? A wordful na mga salita, and mahirap siya unawaan without specific examples. So I kind of put them in a graph for you para mas madali siyang maintindihan. Remember, reinforcement, your goal is to encourage or to increase the doing of the behavior. Punishment is to decrease. Basta sa Tagalog, reinforcement, ini-encourage ka. Punishment is pinaparusahan ka. So, laging positive, negative, lagi siyang nag-a-add or nagre-remove. No? Yun yung meaning ng words ng positive at negative. So, punta muna tayo sa positive reinforcement. So, makikita nyo dyan, sabi nga, adding something the dog likes to increase the likelihood of the behavior happening again. So, may ina-add ka, may binibigay ka, may sinasabi ka, may ginagawa ka para mag-increase yung likelihood na gagawin ng taong yon yung behavior. So you can see, your example, giving your dog something they like for not jumping up and keeping all four paws on the floor. So dahil nakinig sila na, wag makulit, wag ka tatalon, dyan ka lang. No? Dahil nakinig sila doon, you're going to give them treats or pets, no? Kung ano man yung mas workable for the dog. And conversely, negative is removing something. So, dahil ni-remove mo siya, nag-i-increase yung behavior. So, negative, again, remove, and then reinforcement is na-encourage. So, pag ni-remove mo yun, pag tinanggal mo yun, so, ibig sabihin, sa anong mga situations mag-work yung ganun? Kapag yung tinatanggal mo is something na adverse stimulus. So, ano ibig sabihin ng adverse stimulus? Yung adverse ay bad. So, ang inaalis mo is something na bad. No? Ganun siya. So, sabi dyan yung example, removing pressure on the dog's body when they sit to stop them from jumping up. So dog then doesn't jump to avoid discomfort. So if familiar kayo sa parang animal learning, di ba kapag nagtitrain ng dogs, inaano yung pressure dun sa ulo nung dog, no? Para hindi siya talon ng talon or para hindi na siya maligalig, no? So once na sumunod yung dog, aalisin mo na yung pressure na yun. So yun, it will reinforce the dog na, oh, I just have to sit still para hindi ako tinutuunan ng kamay ng amo. No? So now let's go to the punishment. Ito yung nagre-reason para hindi gawin yung behavior. So positive punishment, may binibigay ka na something para hindi na gawin yung behavior na yun. So paano yung correct nila? Para saan? Pinagsasabihan, no? So tignan natin yung example dyan. Applying pressure to push the dog down. Yun. Yung pagtitrain mo sa dog na every time tatalon siya, gaganunan mo sa ulo, so positive punishment yun. Kasi nasasanay siya na every time na ia-attempt niya, pinaparusahan mo siya. Therefore, the dog will be less likely to do that. No? And then the negative punishment, ayan. So negative punishment, ito yung, for the jokes of it, ito yung matatawag ko na medyo may pagka-passive-aggressive. No? Kasi you are removing something to decrease the likelihood of the behavior. So, kunwari, ayaw mong tumalon yung dog. So, ang gagawin mo, hindi mo papansinin yung dog. No? So, nire-remove mo yung attention, nire-remove mo yung pagpansin sa dog. No? So, yan, kawawa yung aso. It could apply also in relationships. Di ba, minsan yung sa mga magjowa, nagjo-joke sila na gano'n na hindi papansinin. So, yeah, it could also be a form of negative punishment on some specific circumstances. Okay? So, let's head on to our fourth question. So a researcher concludes that sleep deprivation causes poor concentration after observing that students who sleep less tend to have lower attention scores. So what is the main limitation of this conclusion? So makita natin na yung sleep deprivation daw or hindi pagtulog is nagre-result into poor concentration. No? Tapos ang basis ng researcher is yung mga natutulog yung mga hindi nakakatulog gaano ay sila parang less likely din na mataas yung kanilang attention score. So nakalagay diyan na more likely na sila ay may attention scores na ganoon. Okay? So ano po yung ibig sabihin ng ating study daw? So correlation does not establish causation. Concentration cannot be measured scientifically. Sleep is an independent variable in every study, or decorrelational studies cannot involve numerical data. So sige, trying to put muna the situation aside. Focus tayo sa choices. Kasi yung choices naman natin ay medyo technically hindi siya ganoon para-related dun sa question, no? Okay. So A, correlation does not establish causation. And we know for a fact na this is true, no? Related lang sila. Kunwari, pag tumataas yung isang bagay, tumataas din yung isa. Pag bumababa yung isang bagay, bumababa yung isa. Pag tumataas yung isang bagay, bumababa yung isa. No? So those are the different kinds of correlation. 'Di ba? So hindi ibig sabihin na automatically pag sabay sila tumaas o bumaba or baligtaran sila ay causing na sila, no? Or meron agad causation. Bibigyan ko kayo ng example, no? So kunwari sinasabi natin dito na every summertime tumataas yung bili ng ice cream ng mga tao, no? And every summertime din tumataas yung mga namamatay sa heat stroke. So, hindi naman natin pwedeng sabihin na namamatay sila sa heat stroke dahil hindi sila nakain ng ice cream. Okay? So, yun yung sinasabi natin na correlation does not establish causation. Nangyayari lang sila together, but it doesn't necessarily mean na automatically yung isa na yung nagkakos over the other. Okay? So, definitely that is true. So, see, let's go to the letter B. Concentration cannot be measured scientifically. So, for this one, it's gonna be debatable even kasi we're going to try to define concentration, no? And kung ano yung definition natin ng concentration, ganun natin siya i-measure, di ba? That's how science works. That's how we do the scientific method. So, ang sinasabi ng question is it cannot be measured scientifically, which we could say na, medyo it's a problematic statement to make, no? Kasi kapag inisip natin siya, 'di ba? Parang hindi naman automatically ibig sabihin hindi na siya measurable. Kaya lang we always have to be parang cautious na there are limitations on the way we interpret things. no? Hindi parang kunwari nakita nyo na mataas yung concentration kasi ang measure nyo ay kung gaano sila nakayuko kapag nagbabasa, no? So, we have to explain that there will be definitely limitations on how we define concentration, but it doesn't mean na it cannot be measured scientifically. Kasi the scientific method alone allows us to do so by giving us the freedom to define our variables. And how we define our variables dictate the way na eventually ay talagang magtutuloy. Okay? Sige. So next, so medyo si B na medyo may pagka-X siya. No? C, sleep is an independent variable in every study. So dito, perhaps it's trying to argue na lagi siyang ginagamit as independent variable. And typically when we speak of independent variable, sila lagi yung cause, sila lagi yung, 'di ba, yung x, no? So, yan, familiar naman tayo dun sa independent variable, no? So, yun yung nagko-cause or yun yung nag-i-influence sa dependent variable. So, yes, definitely sleep is used as an independent variable for some studies, but not in every study. Kasi meron din naman mga studies na sleep yung outcome, sleep yung dependent variable. So statement C is a bit problematic kasi it generalizes. And in fact, yeah, we could say naman na for the question number 4, applicable yung C. Pero the mere fact na finraise niya ng in every study, yun yung nagiging problem, no, with the choice. And then the correlational studies cannot involve numerical data, which we know for a certain truth na this is false. Kasi correlation needs numerical data. It is a parametric test after all, no? So therefore, the correct answer here is A, correlation does not establish causation. Dahil lang kaunti yung tulog nila, hindi ibig sabihin nun na yun yung reason agad for the poor concentration. Yes, it could be a factor, but what if yung sleep deprivation ay at saka poor concentration ay parehas na outcomes ng something? Maybe this person ay may sakit or maybe this person ay may ibang difficulties na nararanasan, di ba? So, yan, hindi agad ibig sabihin na nagko-cause agad-agad siya. Okay? So next, a patient can describe what a bicycle is but cannot remember how to ride one after a neurological injury. So which type of memory is most directly affected? So kaya daw ng patient nyo, di ba, in the future, na mag-drive ng bicycle, pero hindi niya, kaya ng patient nyo na sabihin sa inyo ano ang bike, para saan ang bike, pero nalimutan niya kung paano mag-ride ng bike. So, ibig sabihin, kasi cannot remember, we could deduce from the context na baka before is maalam siya, pero ngayon is nalimutan niya na due to a neurological injury. No? So, may brain injury po siya. So, which type of memory is mostly directly affected? Semantic ba? Episodic, procedural, or sensory? So, ito yung sinasabi natin na yung technicalities minsan ay kailangan din natin, no? But in any case, we could try to use context clues, no? So, yun yung importance why we need to expand our vocabulary para sa mga ganitong situations, it could also come in handy. So, A, semantic memory. When we say of semantic kasi, it's pertinent to the semantics of hindi naman the semantics of education or the semantics of a particular topic, no? So typically kasi when we say semantic, yun yung about siya sa mga facts, concepts, sa mga knowledge, no? Sa iba't ibang mga bagay na related. So, yeah, we could say, no, na to think about it, pwede rin siyang maging semantic, but we have to be very certain na, again, semantic memory relates to the facts, no? And dito, kita agad kasi natin na ang problem naman is hindi niya alam kung ano ang bike. Hindi niya alam o hindi niya ma-recall paano mag-drive ng bike, no? So, yun yung problema. Hindi naman yung mismong knowledge niya. In fact, alam niya eh. Alam niya kung ano ang bike. Alam niya kung paano mag-ride ng bike. Di ba sinabi naman? So, therefore, we could kind of parang eliminate na semantic memory from our choices. No? Kasi again, alam niya kung ano yung bike. Ang hindi niya alam is paano mag-bike or paano mag-ride ng bike. And semantic deals with that. So, episodic memory naman. So, from the word itself, episode, no? Episodes. So, particularly, di ba kapag kayo nanonood kayo, may episode 1, episode 2, so we may think na it has to do with something na parang hindi makaka-recall ng episode yung tao. So, kunwari, hindi nyo ma-remember ano yung episode 1, ano yung episode 2. Not that I'm saying na it's entirely related to just movies or series, pero we could say na episodic memory may have something to do with that. No, na may period of time na we cannot remember or we cannot recall. And dito, kung makikita nyo, hindi kasi natin siya pwedeng sabihin na episodic memory kasi we lack the context. Hindi naman in-explain kung ano ba to, nalimutan niya lang kung paano siya nag-bike noong August 2026 to September 2026. Diba hindi naman kasi defined. And in fact, I think it's very clear na ang hindi niya lang alam is how to ride a bike or how to do so. No, yun yung ating problem lang. No? So, yeah, medyo we could also eliminate that. And that leads us to C, procedural memory, and then D, sensory memory. So, procedural, procedure. So, medyo medyo related na. Kasi ito riding a bike. So, we can say na the person does not know the procedure on how to ride a bike or paano magmaneho or paano magbisikleta. No? So, yun yung problem niya. So, okay, we could keep that. Tignan lang natin yung option D. Kasi baka medyo yun din yung sagot. So D, sensory memory. So from the name in itself, it has to deal with our senses, no? So, I mean, pwede naman. Baka may something in riding a bike like wala siyang balance or anything. But between the two, procedural memory is, a much more correct answer. And in fact, it is the correct answer. So sabi nga dyan, it stores learned skills and actions including riding a bicycle. So tignan natin kung tama yung rationalization natin sa other concepts kanina. So yan, semantic, yeah, definitely the general facts and concepts. So yun nga, knowing what a bicycle is. So kung hindi alam ng taong yun kung ano ang bike, semantic yung problem. Episodic, so experience, events, and context again. So kung ano yung nangyari, hindi niya ma-recall. And then sensory is, ayan, briefly retains incoming visual, auditory, and sensory information. Hindi siya nakakatanda ng senses related na mga memories.